Hello guys, great back with another video on the channel. It's all killer, no filler. So this is episode 4 of my brand featured series, where I choose a house, pick my 5 favourite fragrances from the house, and then just talk a little bit about them. The first video I did was the House of Diptyque. I then did Gucci, and then I did House of Dior Dore. So I've left a link in the video description below for those 3 videos, and I've also set up a playlist on the channel where all of these videos are going to sit. So this episode features one of my absolute favourite fragrance houses of all time. And as you can see, and there's a few of my Dior's, it's the House of Dior. And they have made some amazing fragrances over the years. And when you consider everything they've done, my 5th choice is probably not one that many of you would put in the list, but obviously this is a subjective list, it's my personal favourites. And the one that I've picked at number 5 is Aqua Fahrenheit. Obviously this is a flanker to the original Fahrenheit. This one came out in 2011. And Fahrenheit's had loads of flankers, but for me, this is just the best one. Unfortunately, it's discontinued now. The sort of fresher version of Fahrenheit now is called Fahrenheit Cologne, and that fits in with the brand strategy that a lot of brands like Dior are employing at the moment, where they have a cologne, an EDT, and either an eau de parfum or a parfum in the range. So this one has gone, and now the one that's replaced it is Fahrenheit Cologne. But this one manages to keep some of that magic from the original Fahrenheit, but it gives you a fragrance that you can wear in the heat, which definitely isn't a good idea for the original. Violet's still one of the key parts of this fragrance. It still maintains that leathery muskiness, but this has got citrus and mint in here, which brightens it up a bit. It's got great performance. Aqua in a fragrance usually means watery and light, but this one, whilst it's wearable in warmer weather, it's still what I would describe as more of a deeper fragrance rather than it being a light one. It's not a summer cologne splash on type of fragrance. This one works, you know, all year round. This works well, and I think it's superb. But sadly, as I said, like most of the fragrances I enjoy, it's discontinued. So number 4, this is actually one from the Dior Privé line, and in my opinion, it's the best ever from that line. And this one is called Mitza. And this is a beautiful, spicy, ambery perfume. It's so beautifully made. It kind of wraps its arms around you, makes you feel warm and relaxed. It's very thick, very resinous. It's incensey and smoky. There's very detectable notes of cinnamon, also coriander and honey in here, and to a lesser extent, vanilla as well. But really, it's all about that deep, spicy, smoky amber. It's very opulent and regal. It just smells of class and style. But again, this one's discontinued, unfortunately. Number 3, this is a flanker to an absolute classic, and this is Eau Sauvage, the Parfum edition, and this is the original version of Parfum. You can see this band around here. The name of the fragrance here is still black, whereas the 2017 version, which is the current one, this name part here is in silver. Now, I didn't really appreciate this fragrance until I went back to it quite recently, and now I've kind of got the hype because this is so well loved, and I never really thought it was that great, but I really do get it now. It doesn't smell anything like the original. The original was obviously a light, bright, citrusy cologne style fragrance, but this is really sort of deep and dark and mysterious. I mean, look at the colour of that juice in there. There's only 3 notes, I think, listed in this fragrance: bergamot, vetiver, and myrrh. And they are the core of the fragrance, but there's a lot more going on as well. As well crafted as this is, the first 5 minutes I don't actually enjoy. I think this is one that needs to sit on your skin and work with your skin a little bit before it comes to life. The top is citrus. It's mainly bergamot, but it's not sweet in any way. It develops into a heart of vetiver and some white florals. It's you get jasmine and you get some lavender in here. But I find the whole of this fragrance to have a bit of a peppery background to it. There's a dry vetiver that runs all the way through the fragrance into the base. When you get into the base, you get some dry musk and you get oak moss, a little bit of earthiness, but mainly, and the key in here, is very deep, thick myrrh. It's a really, really well done myrrh note in this fragrance. And this one, again, this oozes class and sophistication. It doesn't smell like a designer fragrance. In fact, it doesn't smell like a Dior fragrance. I think this one would have easily sat in the Dior Privé line. It's a lot better and a lot more creative than a lot of fragrances that are in that range. So that was number 3, Eau Sauvage Parfum. Now the top two were pretty easy to pick for me, but when I say that, the one that I've chosen at number 2 could have been any one of many flankers of this fragrance, but I've actually opted for the original. And this is Dior Homme. When I say original, it isn't the actual first formulation. The original formulation was created by Olivier Polge in 2005, and it had a silver stem on the bottle there. This was the 2011 version that was by the in-house perfumer Francis Demarchi, and this one came out in 2011. But what I feel about this is I prefer this 2011 version. It's very unusual for me to like what is essentially a reformulation, but I think it took something that was almost perfect and perfected it. It just rounded off a few rough edges, and this is absolutely perfection for me. Just to be even more sort of confusing, there's a 2020 version of Dior Homme but that, to be honest, is a completely different fragrance. I'm not sure why they even called it Dior Homme and didn't give it a new name. But so you can kind of forget about that one. That's not getting in any top 5 lists. I could have put Dior Homme Intense or Dior Homme Parfum at number 2, and this is quite easily. They're both 10 out of 10 masterpieces, like this one is. But if you're watching this, you probably know about this fragrance already. There are lots of notes in here. There's 4 really key notes that I pick out as being the magic in here, and it's really the way that they're blended together. You've got iris, cacao, lavender and leather. And use of iris in a men's designer fragrance in 2005, when the original came out, was quite groundbreaking. It's iris leans on the feminine side. It is usually used in female perfumes rather than men's perfumes, but it just works fantastically in here. And this is one of those rare fragrances that when I spray it, it literally blows me away. It makes me smile. It lifts my mood. And describing this one, it has been said a million times before, but it is because it's true. This does have a distinctive makeup and lipstick type of smell, and it's the iris that creates that. It's definitely a unisex fragrance. It's marketed to men, but I'd love to smell this fragrance on a woman. I think it works perfectly well on either. The cacao in here has kind of a dry, chocolatey smell. And the other notes that I mentioned that complete this, what I definitely call a masterpiece, is lavender and leather. You'd never smell this fragrance and think it was a leather fragrance. It's not a dark leather like you might find in something like Tom Ford's Tuscan leather. It's very soft and mild, but if you search for it, you'll see what I mean, that it's there. It's just part of the overall composition. But this one could be number 1 actually, on any list ever for me, except this one. And only for the reason that the one at number 1 is my favourite fragrance of all time. And that is Aqua Fahrenheit, the original. I've spoken about this just a few times on the channel, but this one came out in 1988. It was unique then. I think it's unique now. The magic in this fragrance is and lots of people have spoken about it before, it's the petrol type of accord that you get. It's kind of petrol-y, greasy, oily, but it's a combination of violet leaf. I think violet leaf and violet in here. You often can get those mixed up, but with also leather and musk that really makes this so fantastic. And the same as with Dior Homme, every time I spray this fragrance, I'm amazed by it. I know it sounds maybe foolish or an exaggeration, but it blows me away. It lifts my mood. There's not much of an in-between with this one. People either usually love it or hate it. But for me, of all the many tens of thousands of fragrances that I've tried, nothing still has beaten this, and what is a very affordable designer fragrance. So that is number 1, and that can sit there, pride of place in the front. So there you go, guys. That's my 5 favourite fragrances from the House of Dior. There's loads more that I could have put in here. I mean, nearly all of the flankers are superb. All of the Dior Homme line's amazing. There's lots of great women's fragrances like Hypnotic Poison and Diorella, just to name a couple. But I hope you enjoyed the video. I'd love to hear what your favourite Dior fragrances are. Thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you all soon with another video. Cheers.